All right. Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday once again. It's great to have you all with us. I know you saw us last Thursday, so it probably feels like we're back pretty quick, but it's great to be here. You guys are noticed we're joined with Jason from the Mash and Drum. Welcome, Jason. Thanks so much for dropping on by on a busy Tuesday. And yeah, I think I got one sentence of bourbon news, and then we'll just hop right into it. The Smooth Ambler barrels are picked; they are in. Smooth Ambler's holding them for us. Look for pre-sale information next week. We have two awesome barrels. If you guys missed that stream, pick it up. It was a great time with Mike from Pre-Prelude from our bourbon, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the bourbon. So let's dive into it. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me in, John and Jay. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh man. We were catching up a little bit, but yeah, this is the first time we've been doing a stream with Jason. Welcome again. John, did you have any news? I mean, John and I are pretty familiar faces at this point, but Jason is our guest of the week, so I'm looking forward to this one.
I didn't have any news, no, but I did want to kind of check in and see what everybody in chat was drinking. I know that we spoke with Jason a little bit earlier, and he decided he was going to bust out a couple of new bottles to him. And we'll kind of dig through those and get some initial thoughts, and maybe kind of just go full story and talk a little bit about the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room and see what he's got to say about the evolution of that.
Yeah, it's quite the setup back there.
Yeah,
yeah. It's these are half of my bottles.
Okay, all right. we are in good company.
Perfect. Yeah,
I'm like packing the move right now, and I'm like, where did all these come from?
That's what always happens, right?
Where?
So let's start out here. Jay, what'd you pour?
I have, let's see, this is batch 19 of Magnus's Murray Hill Club. First taste, pretty good so far. I was actually kind of shocked. I expected it to be okay, but I opened it up today and was pretty impressed. So this is a treat. I feel like maybe I should have saved this for later in the evening, but I guess it's 8 o'clock, so this is what I'm drinking.
This is what you get. It's 9 o'clock here if it makes you feel better.
Okay, yeah. What are you drinking, John?
I get a little of the new Lux Row 12-year double barrel.
Okay.
Give that a whirl.
You've got the rare bead there. Which release, Jason?
This is a 2020. So
okay.
Yeah, the 2020s have been just stellar, and every time I see them, I grab them. I love starting off, the night with a turkey. It's just how I roll. No, it's not because Rare Bird's 101's in the chat either. I had this before I saw him there.
Any man that starts with barrel proof is my kind of friend.
Speaking of the bird, he's getting all wired up on coffee right now, evidently.
Coffee, oh man.
Man doesn't mess around.
Oh yeah, Aaron Reffitt's got the Remus Repeal Reserve Batch 4. I need to find me a bottle of that. Yeah, I gotta get that.
There's one of those sitting here, and I've just been kind of looking at it. I'm like,
yeah, EC Toasted.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
EC Toasted has gotten better. It took a while to get there, though. I wasn't too crazy about it. The first couple pours. I think it really hit its stride about halfway down the bottle.
Yeah, a couple weeks for me. I was like, oh, this is very different in a good way.
Yeah, it definitely alters a bit, but it takes a while to get there for me because it had this kind of weird bitter finish on the back end. I couldn't quite place it like what was happening. The front of the palate though, and the nose is, it's just like s'mores. It's so good and sweet, and then the finish for it was just like drying, and it was kind of killing me on it. But then once the thing kind of got halfway down the bottle, it's I feel like that's the sweet spot of that bottle.
It's growing on you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the toasted stuff has a weird like Splenda aspartame kind of like bitterness on the back palate until they air out for a while, which I was hoping not to see the toasted. It was there, but not as bad as the Michters have been. Just like, oh boy. Yeah, the Elijah Craig. I'm about a halfway as well, and it's certainly very different than the first day I opened it, which is great.
Some comments there about the Woodford Double Oak. I think that's a pretty good comparison. And what I found is folks who are really crazy about the Woodford Double Oak that seems to be like the line of demarcation. Like if you're leaning towards that Woodford Double Oak, the Elisha Craig Toasted might not be the one for you. And so for me, the Woodford Double Oak actually isn't something that I rate very highly. I think it's just kind of okay. It's the profile is just it misses the mark for me a little bit,
Mhm.
and I thought the Elisha Craig Toasted was a little bit more in my lane. So
Okay.
I've talked to a few people that kind of lean the other way too, towards the Woodford. So I don't know if maybe that's a kind of a measuring stick for somebody.
Yeah,
if
I mean,
had one over the other.
you could go either way. I mean, when I did the review, I compared Woodford double oaked and also Old Forester 1910 in there,
Okay. Yeah.
just as a
Yep.
comparison, just to see, what I would like. I think overall, the Woodford double oaked would probably please some more drinkers just based on the flavor profile and the proof point.
Right.
Elijah Craig Toasted, I felt like, was kind of the outlier right in the middle. And then you had 1910, which was just a lot more chocolate and espresso type flavor note. So it really just depends on your palate.
Sure. Yeah. That 1910 for me is real sweet. It's like a perfect dessert pour, but it's not something that I reach for a ton.
That's the eggnog bourbon, right?
That is, it goes into
Yeah.
my eggnog mix. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I knew it.
Yeah,
make
the 1910 was one of those things where I was not crazy about it on the neck pour and a couple stuff. Like, what is going on with that? I couldn't, kind of like the Elijah Craig Toasted, I just wasn't sure what to expect. And it's getting a lot of oak and some bitterness. And all of a sudden, it was a little bit sooner than with the Elijah Craig Toasted, but the 1910, once it turned to like coffee notes, I love coffee. So I was all over it after that.
Nice.
I need to get back to it because the 1910, I'm 0 for 2 on it. Each time I had, I'm like why?
Yeah.
I'm sure it opens up, but it hasn't hit for me. And I historically, like, I didn't like the double oaked either until I had it a couple years later. I was like, oh, okay, this is great again. A couple hundred bourbons later, but the 1910 has just been a miss for me. So I'll give it a year or two and see if it's dialed back in.
Yep.
Circle back around to this is the second bottling of it too.
Yeah, maybe that is a
that's in the
factor
shelf now, and who knows? Maybe it'll make a little bit of a difference. I haven't had the latest bottling, only the first one, so I couldn't.
I do have a recent of the 1920, and that stuff is still killer. Every time I'm like, maybe my memory's just fond, and I open a new one. And
yeah, that's one that every time I come back to, I really, really dig it.
Yeah, the 1920. The only difference I ever get with 1920s, every now and again, you get one that's a little bit more banana than the other one, but it doesn't really bother me. I'll still drink it. I don't care.
Yeah, I like all that about it.
It's such a solid pour that's available and affordable, and all the great stuff that we love about Old Forester for the most part.
And that reminds me,
all the boxes.
I popped this guy last night. I was happy to see the Daniel single barrel rye, and was like, holy shit. I was sitting on the couch. I'll just drink something while I'm doing something else, and then I ended up putting something else aside and being like, oh my god.
Yeah. I could have drank this and focus on it.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking forward to the barrel proof. Jack Daniel's supposed to be releasing the barrel proof rye.
Same.
That's what definitely be a hit.
Yeah.
Someone asked me on Twitter today, and they're like, rare breed rye or the Jack Daniel's rye, and I was like, apples and oranges, but like, let's wait till this comes out of barrel proof because this is going to be a monster.
Yeah,
that rare breed rye is so good too. I like everything about that.
Yeah, competition. Yeah, out of all the ryes I've had this year, the rare breed rye. I don't know if it's because it's a turkey thing and I love turkey so much, but not many ryes have really stood out like that one. And there's just something about it. Actually, the 4-Gate batch 7 rye that came out, that thing was incredible too. So those two ryes, that one and the rare breed rye, really stuck out as incredible.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I had a Madeira finish to Koenig rye, and I was like, that's bizarre. And that was strangely good. I don't think it's going to compete with something like rare breed rye, which is a very conventional rye that just hits really strongly. But yeah, it's been a good year for rye overall, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I could even put in the same league as the rare breed rye. Really, I mean, they came out swinging with that.
Yeah. I mean, you think
needed it.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I would put up there that I like as much is probably the Pikesville rye.
Okay.
Which has a good
price point.
Which has a good proof point, but I don't feel like the Pikesville punches you in the mouth like the rare breed does. Plus the rare breed rye being non-chill filtered.
Yeah,
it just makes makes it so creamy. I love that stuff. Yeah. I need to find another one of those. It sold out like this in Ohio, and I haven't seen it since. So
we didn't even get it here.
I was a huge idiot. Total Wine had 6 of them, and I was like, they'll be here by the weekend. I was just running through getting some, and by the weekend it was gone. And I was like, I knew this was going to happen. Like, this has happened 100 times before.
Oh,
Why
man.
did
I'm taking it as a personal offense that you didn't buy the entire shelf.
Well, I was like, oh man, there's a ton of it. And I was like, this is stupid. I've been doing this for like 6 years now. This happens every time. I'm like, there'll be more later. And then it's gone.
Yeah, I'll just grab one another time.
So I did what I always do, and I just bought another liter of the 101 rye, since that's on Total Wine shelves, even though it's not supposed to.
Nicholas Falaggio. The old Carter ryes were actually really good this year. Yeah, it's also sourced. Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. Sourced rye. I mean, for the vast majority of who's going to be bottling rye, it's going to be sourced.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make it bad. Good whiskey is good whiskey. I don't care.
Right.
As long as you can bottle the good stuff.
So let's wheel back the hands of time a little bit, Jason, and kind of walk us through the beginning, if you would, of the Mash and Drum. Kind of what were you thinking when you kind of kicked this off? Where were you looking to go with it? And kind of what was the beginning of your journey into bourbon?
Well, kind of like maybe most of us. And I've told the story before. I'll try to keep it short. It's basically college. Got to drinking some Wild Turkey 101 and Coke.
Naturally.
And I remember very distinctly, me and my buddy, we were drinking that for a good amount of time. And then one time we were hanging out and he brought over a glass. He's like, hey, try that. And I took a sip and it was basically, I'm like, oh man, what is that? That's really good. And it was just Wild Turkey 101 on the rocks, no Coke, no nothing. So at that point, that's when kind of the exploration started. But I didn't really venture too far off of that until a few years later when, I really got into the craft beer scene.
Okay.
So I was really drinking a lot of beers and, trying all those out. And then once I started getting back into bourbon, a few years later, I obviously went back to Turkey again. Then I was sipping it neat. Then I went to a bar and some really pretty bartender was like, hey, you guys. Yeah, you guys like bourbon? I'm like, yeah, we do like it. She's like, hey, you should try this. And she poured us a pour of Booker's neat. And once I took a sip of the Booker's bourbon, that was it. I was hooked. It was a whole nother type of flavor punch and flavor profile and nothing like I had ever tasted before. I never had anything barrel proof or anything like that. So I was like, what the hell is this? And then after that, proceeded to drink many bourbons that night.
Nice.
So, and that just kind of piqued my curiosity. And then after that, I kind of fell into this entire community on YouTube that I didn't really know about. Guys like Scotch Test Dummies, It's Bourbon Night, Rob of Whiskey in the Six, Scott, who's in the chat, My Bourbon Journey, doing all these reviews for bourbons and whiskeys. I'm like, oh, wow, this is incredible. Found the Whiskey Vault, Daniel and Rex, and just kind of watched them here and there. But one thing I noticed was that nobody really dove into the history of what they were drinking. They would kind of give the background on the whiskey and the mash bill and how it's made or how it's aged. And all that is great. But what fascinated me about it was the history of it all. So I thought I could maybe, when I was thinking about doing the channel, I thought maybe I could bring something different to the table when it came to, just pure adding some history to the reviews and how I would do that. So for literally about a year before I started the channel, I tasted every bourbon I could and I trained my palate and I got better and better and better at it. My palate got really sensitive to bourbons and picking up different flavors. And then lo and behold, I launched the Mash and Drum actually a little over 2 years ago now. So
just over 2 years, and in that time you have grown exponentially, man. That is crazy.
Yeah, hot damn.
Yeah, it grew a lot faster than I thought it would. I think some of the positive feedback I got, at the beginning was the history portion of it. I feel like it's both, entertaining but also educational, and that's kind of the line I wanted to. Walk as I was doing my channel and upgrading it and just trying to, then all the other fun stuff comes into play. Your lighting, your camera, your sound, then you realize how expensive it is, and then you're already down the rabbit hole. So
you're like a second rabbit hole beyond the first rabbit hole. Like,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it branched right off on you. So let's talk a little bit about the name. You're a drummer, so is that what kind of drove you into this? Is the whiskey and the drumming, or what?
Yeah, basically, one of my favorite. So I grew up in New York, and one of my favorite bars in New York was this. There was a couple of them, but a lot of them were Irish bars, and they either had like a fife and drum or a pipe and drum or something like that.
Yeah,
and I've been playing drums for years. So I actually was just playing for like 2 hours before the live stream. I have some nasty blisters on my hands, but
perfect.
I was basically thinking, okay, well, what could be a cool, name for the channel? I wanted something that would stand out. I didn't want to put bourbon or something in it that I didn't want to primarily make it just bourbon, because I did want to. A part of the channel in the beginning was to explore Scotch and Irish whiskeys and other spirits beyond my love of bourbon, which I think has been a successful journey at that point up until now. But yeah, I thought, mash and drum, kind of, thinking about a bourbon mash or a whiskey mash, combining that with drum, and kind of going off of those names of those bars that I know and love. It was kind of a combination of my past and my future.
I like it.
Nice. Yeah. You were in New York City or some other part of New York?
I grew up in Long Island mainly up until high school, and then I was in Queens. Then I was living in Bayside, Queens for 14, 15 years until I moved to here in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm situated now.
Very cool. I spent a lot of time growing up on the East Coast, but up in Connecticut, so a little north there.
Yep.
I knew that accent. I was like, I'm 99% sure, but I got to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accent gets a little bit softer the more I'm in Ohio, but then when I get back to New York and I'm talking with my family, my friends, and then I come back here, it's real thick again.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Old habits, man.
Yeah, so it's what happens. You get around it and you start, I still say "what a funny," which everyone makes fun of me for on my channel.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it on your pronunciation of barrel. And I was like, oh, there it is. Oh,
yeah. Everyone,
I know where that guy is.
I didn't know that was a thing actually pretty recently. I forgot what video it was. Somebody wrote in the comments like BAWREHL, like barrel or ball roll. I'm like, am I saying barrel funny? I guess I am. So
that's like, in college when I meet all my friends and one of them would be like, oh, and I got a glass of water, and I'd be like, oh, how's Pennsylvania? And they'd be like, what? Like, I got you. I hear you.
Yeah. Mike Meyer in the chat said butter pecan. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Butter pecan. That's how I say butter pecan. I say butter pecan.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we get all these things too. It's very common that we have to get a little bit of input from the audience on how in the hell you're supposed to say the word pecan.
Yeah, that one's probably the most hotly contested. I never thought that the pecan was going to be like such a big thing in 2020, but I guess that's the best we got. Like
here we are.
Pecan and pecan, yeah.
Man, cool. So riddle me this. I know you got an assload of videos out there. Do you have a specific favorite that you had whipping up, bringing to market, or do you have a couple of favorites?
Probably my favorite right now was my top overrated and overhyped bourbon video.
Okay.
That one seemed to get the most reaction, I think.
So that one was the most electric.
Yeah, I think so. I think, a lot of people, they love my reviews. I do think that, I don't know if I tend to be a little bit more reserved, but I just really want to talk about the whiskey and the history. I don't get into too much shenanigans or anything like that. I have a couple of fun lines and stuff that comes up when I'm drinking and then doing a review. But I think ever since I did that video, it just kind of was like, people seem to like when you're a little bit more uncut and unfiltered. So, loosen up a little bit. So
get those hot takes in there.
Yeah, I think that branched off a new series I'm doing called Uncut and Unfiltered, where I'm just certain news stories that hit the market. I'll kind of sit down and do a quick take and voice my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, but for the most part, that video, I think it got some traction on Reddit. It got some traction through what's the magazine that I got interviewed for. That article, it was featured in that article. So yeah, it was kind of a labor of love, that video. I just if nobody's heard the story, basically I was in Kroger here in Ohio, and I literally watched I don't know, I think the guy was about 60 years old, literally throw a tantrum because he couldn't get Blanton's. And I was sitting on the video for about a month. I was like, okay, I have this video. What am I going to do it? You know, it's because you kind of have to walk that line. You don't want to be too much of an asshole, but you also want to, you want to tell the truth too. You want to state how you feel. That's really, the priority of being a YouTuber to me. So, once I witnessed that, I was like, that's it. I'm doing it. And literally that night I went home and I filmed it while I was all fired up, and the rest is history.
I did detect a little bit of heat in that video as I watched it.
Yeah, I was pretty fired up because to see a guy, and the guys that I know at Kroger that it's a state-controlled liquor agency. They're not allowed to hold, but a lot of people already assume like, oh, this guy Mash and Drum, he gets bottles held for him, and that's not the case at all. Because if they did that, and they got caught, they could lose their jobs. You're not allowed to do that. I don't know how other state-controlled agencies work their rules, but I know here in Ohio you can't do that. If they get caught holding back a bottle for a regular consumer, they could get in a lot of trouble. But what I have done is build relationships with these guys, and they'll let me know, like, what's possibly coming in, what's might be on the manifest for the next day. So if there's something that I'm interested in, just like everyone else, I go and I wait online in the morning, and I hope to maybe get one. So that's it.
Was there any follow-up from that? Matthew Layton in the chat asked if you were cut off there after your hot takes, or do you expect any repercussions from kind of airing it out a little bit?
I don't think so. I haven't gotten any feedback at all from distilleries. I can't say, but like I said, but even in the video, it wasn't really anything to the distillery itself. Maybe a couple of distilleries in there I kind of called out as far as like their pricing being just stupid, because some of the pricing for some distilleries at retail are very overpriced. I called out Willet and Whistle Pig to name a couple. Which I think are two very overpriced bourbons, bourbons and ryes. But for the most part, when you talk about Buffalo Trace, I think a lot of it is it's kind of, the distilleries get unfairly blamed when people in the secondary market and liquor store owners are taking advantage of the market. It's not really a fault of the distillery. I do blame the distillery somewhat because, when there's high demand for stuff, it's hard to keep up. And I think a lot of people forget that, bourbons have to age. Right. So you can't expect them to just churn out a bunch of bourbon because you want it. And I think that's the problem that Buffalo Trace is on right now. Everything they release gets bought up in 2 seconds. So I think they do get blamed somewhat, but I do think they deserve some of the blame because, while it's great, we got all these new Wellers that come out each year. I think it's bullshit that they keep releasing them each year when they trickle them out into the market, and all they're doing is driving up hype, and they know it. So, but that's the marketing machine that Sazerac is.
Yeah, if you look at it from a marketing perspective, I guess you could argue that it's a well-oiled machine. It's doing everything they want it to.
Exactly. Yeah. One of my non-chill filtered episodes was about the releases of Blanton's Gold and Blanton's Straight from the Barrel here in the U.S. And it seemed like the announcement of that was on its face like really cool. It's like, oh my God, it's finally going to be here in the United States. It's like it's already here in the United. It's made here, guys. So they just
it's not coming here. It's staying here.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's staying here finally. We're going to get a chance to buy it. Of course, each bottle is $30 over what they charge overseas, which I think is pretty shitty. But then at the same time, most of these, most of us, most of the public won't ever see those bottles because there's just not enough. So, you kind of have to play the game of, and I think a lot of people that are, you guys and other, YouTubers and other people that know about how some of these releases work. Most of us know that a lot of these releases, most people won't see. And if we do see it, they're going to be highly upcharged, which is a shame too.
Yeah. It
is interesting. Sword. Yeah. I mean, by all strokes, I think Buffalo Trace is super successful in what's known as halo marketing, where like, if you can't get this and you can't get that and you can't get this other thing, at least I can find this one Buffalo Trace product. So I may as well buy it, and I think that that's worked incredibly well for them, even as their profile, like their portfolio is diversified incredibly in the last 5 years. And they're still, at every turn they're selling out. Like I know John saw a Weller single barrel hit in Maine, but like that was a ghost here in Wisconsin just because, it's new. Let's grab it up. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way that those things work. I mean, and it's a double-edged sword. I mean, did they send this product overseas and hit the market that the brand wants it to go to, or did they bring it here where the enthusiasts are clamoring for it? And on top of that, do they have to fight exports? Is it easier and cheaper to keep it here at the U.S. market, or is it more profitable to ship it overseas? I mean, just from a business perspective, I know they have a lot to think about. And just from the amount of heat they're going to take from us, the educated consumer who says, give us this is what we want, this is what we'll pay for it. They've got a tough battle to play.
It is a good point to make, though, here that Blanton's is produced by Buffalo Trace for a company known as Age International, which owns the brand. So these are all decisions that Age International is making.
Correct. And that's what I mean. I feel like there's a lot of decisions that are made that just Buffalo Trace overall gets the brunt of, when it's really not. A good example of that is actually Kentucky Owl with Dixon Deadman. A lot of people go after Dixon Deadman for his, bottles being expensive. He's like, guys, I just blended. Just blended. I'm not, I'm not in the store putting the stickers on it. That's marketing. So, there's a lot of, wave effect, ripple effect, I should say, that comes out, some of the pricing and some of the bottles, unfortunately, to a lot of the people and distilleries that are making this stuff. A lot of the distributors, I think the distributors are a big part of it that nobody really talks about. They make a lot of the stores buy, a shit ton of crap to get an allocated bottle or anything. And it drives the notion that, okay, well, I had to buy so much stuff to get this one bottle. I'm going to jack it up as high as I can to make the most money. So I can understand that to a point, but there's a fine line between trying to make some of your money back and maybe boosting up the price a little bit and then just being greedy. So,
that makes sense. I mean, and what you mentioned about the distribution side of the 3-tier system also kind of makes me think that, there's bourbon is in some ways a victim of its own success. It went through such a tough time in the 80s and even through a good chunk of the 90s. That as it exploded in popularity, there's, in this 3-tier system, you're going to have 3 different layers of places that are going to be making money off of the end product.
Correct.
And that the distributors being able to control what goes where, when, and what else needs to happen. Like you're saying, sell X product to get Y product. Those type of things can really kind of, it's holding the end consumer in a weird position because they're not necessarily in control of what's going to happen or how they're going to get those bottles. So it's a multifaceted problem, really, but ultimately it makes me think it's a victim of its own success.
Yeah, and unfortunately, nobody in the 3-tiered system will take any responsibility for it because the distributors are never going to tell the liquor stores what they should charge, and the distilleries won't get involved legally. So it's a very tricky system. You have to what I tell everybody is, listen, you have to shop around and you have to find a good store with a good owner. Somebody that will sell stuff that maybe has stuff marked up, but not overly marked up, and does it at a fair price. You just have to shop around and make those connections. And that's really the best way to get bottles.
Yeah. I'd agree with that totally.
Oh, for sure. It's funny. Earlier you mentioned the ripple effect, which I was looking through some stuff today, and it was kind of funny. You mentioned the Reddit post for the, you only need 5 bottles of bourbon.
Yeah.
Which was super interesting. If you don't like, I'm a moderator of our bourbon, so I watched that post come and go and and stuff like that, and just kind of saw it. And then like, a couple days later on YouTube, I was like, whoa, everyone's talking about this and whipping up videos and stuff. And it was interesting to get so many different takes from people on, what their 5 bottles were and everyone's reasoning behind it. And I was like, man, I thought I would see more Knob Creek in these, but I was happy to see some of it show up because I'm like a huge Knob Creek fanboy.
Yeah. I'm actually going to make another version of that video, but with non-bourbons.
Okay.
Because because after I did it, I'm like, man, I did pick one rye in there, but I mainly picked all bourbons. I'm like, if I couldn't pick a rye or bourbon, what would I choose? So I think I'm going to do like a Scotch, Irish whiskey, maybe Japanese whiskey version of that video. I think.
Oh, okay.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the sound of that.
It's funny because it was weird too. Because when I saw the post, I was like, "Why didn't I think of that?" Because me and my friends have been talking about, your top 5 scotches for years. Like, give me Spring Break, Lefroy, like Bruichladdich, Highland Park, and I don't know, like a Talisker or something funky like that. And I was like, why didn't I ever think about this for bourbon? Even though I've been steeped in bourbon for a lot longer than Scotch.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's dig into what do you got there? Did you finish up that river? Do you have something else? I see a lot of glassware out there. Makes you think that you're gonna start digging in.
Yeah,
so that's quite the setup.
Yeah, so John and Jay, you guys asked me to maybe bring some bottles that I haven't opened yet or haven't tried. One I'm gonna try. So I have 1 bourbon here, and I got 2 ryes, and the 2 ryes I got is just because I happened to get them today. So one, which I thought would be pretty cool, is this. This is an Ohio exclusive, which I don't know how that happened, but Ohio got a 114 proof Old Overholt.
Man, that's awesome.
Let that
there we go.
in there. It's a beautiful bottle, 114 proof. It's a 4-year straight rye whiskey. Old over. It's non-chill filtered as well.
Is it bottled and bond?
It's got a lot going for it on the bottle. So
certainly.
I have not tried this yet, so it's a screw top, by the way.
Yeah, okay. In true Overholt fashion.
True Overholt fashion. They didn't abandon their roots.
I like their style, man. I like Overholt for what it is. I think it's a half decent product for a very fair price.
Yep.
You could do a lot with it.
It's the better Fleischmann's based on where you live. Yeah, that definitely can't be bottled and bond, but it sounds.
Oh, right. It's 114.
Sounds enticing, yeah.
I get so caught up on it being Overholt, and then we can't get the bottled and bond Overholt here.
Really?
I want to. Yeah, we just get the. Well, now it comes. I think it's got a red cap on it now, but it's just the original Overholt.
Okay. So this is this is kind of your typical Old Overholt, just amped up a little bit. It's a lot of caramel, pine, and orange.
Cool.
Really nice on the nose. I mean, you could smell how much more powerful it is.
Yeah. I'm curious what it's like non-chill filtered.
Yeah, normal Overholt is just filtered to death.
Yeah, it's very thin.
Yeah.
That's why it's like cocktail.
Exactly. That's why I was so interested in grabbing this, because regular Overholt is like drinking. I mean, I think it is made for a mixer, but it's like water. Yeah,
it's super thin, but it does. Like, you could do a lot with it in that I don't think I would ever put it on the rocks, but you could if you were somebody who wanted a lower proof sip. But I mean, it makes a decent Manhattan. It really lets you kind of showcase your mixology too.
Yeah. Do you mind? How is that under 30, over 30?
This was $36.
Ooh.
So it's right up there with OGD 114. Then that's, I think, 35 here.
$9 a year. I'll take it.
Yeah. About $36 for 114 proof non-chill. Oh.
Is that a 750? It almost looks like a liter bottle there.
No, it's a
750.
Yeah, it's a 750.
I mean, that'd be like the final like checkbox, like liter bottle. Like, yes.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, Turkey 101 rye is $30 for a liter.
Yeah.
So they made this 2020 Ohio release home to the Industrial Revolution and historically tied to this brand. You celebrate the state of Ohio's strength and importance with this special release. So there you go.
That is
Outstanding.
nifty. That's probably the first, other than like single barrel selections and stuff, like Ohio only release that a distillery is.
I'm actually surprised how pine and rye bread forward it is. I think because it's so, it does have the high proof. It's non-chill filtered. It's not anywhere near what you're normally used to. A lot of spice. Like this is like almost savory.
Cool.
Oh, that's
safe to say it's a good departure from the standard overhaul then.
Yeah, this is a complete upgrade.
Cool.
Okay.
This is like going from like an old jalopy to a Ferrari.
a $36 Ferrari. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not. I wouldn't say I like this better than the Rare Breed Rye, but
Rare Breed Rye ain't $36 either.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you can't find Rare Breed, well, I mean, this is an exclusive.
You're not gonna be able to find Overholt either. So.
Yeah, this is unfortunately an exclusive, but I might get a couple more of these just a bunker because
I never thought that like Ohio would come out on top in something like this. Where
seriously, what the hell?
Curse you,
other than
Ohio.
Weller Antique, I didn't know that Ohio was killing it on something.
Ohio's gotten a lot better since I moved here.
It's a good thing you did.
Is it because you moved there?
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it, because if that was the case, I'd probably win more state lotteries.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've entered about like 17 different state lotteries to try to win an allocated bottle. I've come up zero on all of them.
Yeah, me too. I strike out on those.
Just the way. But there is. I say this on my live streams. There is some other Jason C asshole that wins like every one.
Oh yeah, that's the bastard that's ruining it for everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man! Every time this guy wins. When is it going to be my Jason C number that comes
Seriously.
up?
Nope.
So if anyone's interested in trying this, let me know. I'd gladly send out samples or
I want to split a case of it.
They are everywhere.
As a non-Ohioan, that interests me, which is something I never thought I would say.
Yeah,
let's split a case of it, the three of us. I'm interested in that.
Well, that's the way to go.
So next up, which is a bottle I just got today, is the brand new Michter's Toasted Rye for 2020. Let that focus in.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
there you go. So I am not a fan. I don't know about you guys. Are you guys a fan? I'm not a fan of the Michter's Toasted Bourbon.
Nope.
But the Michter's Toasted Rye, it's a different story for me.
I don't think I've had the toasted rye, but the Michter's Barrel Strength Rye is very high on my list of things.
That's probably that's
very high.
That's probably my number one favorite rye.
That's my favorite Michter's product. The toasted, whatever Michter's is doing toasted, is not set well with me, but I haven't tried this year's yet. So
that was a good cork pop too. I like that.
That was more
everything about that
delightful.
Yeah, you guys felt that one, right?
I did. Deep.
My eardrums, they swelled a little bit.
So Michter's is very known for having some very, very sweet Kentucky rye. I mean, it's very sweet on the nose, and the toasting obviously brings more of that out. This is just...
Does that say Kentucky rye on it?
Yeah, Kentucky straight rye whiskey.
Sweet.
Barrel strength. This is 110 proof right on the dot. The average proof for 2020 this year was 109.3, I believe.
Okay.
Or 109.1. So obviously they're going in with that low entry proof. I think they're going in they're going in at what, 103, 104 now?
103.
I'll take it. I mean, that's
I mean, they're just extracting more sugars out of that, out of those barrels. So yeah, I mean, it's basically spearmint and caramel wrapped around marshmallow.
Okay. On
the first pour. I mean, but these just really get better and better as it opens up. The rye in particular. I just love what the toasting does to their rye. I think there's a good combination of flavors when you take the low entry proof with the caramel and vanilla heavy rye whiskey, bring a little bit of that mintiness and the citrus to the party, and then you got the toasting that adds a little bit of that graham cracker and marshmallow note to it.
little bit deeper layers of sweetness, darker
Yeah,
flavors.
yeah.
The
So do you
citrus and
guys
stuff in
do you
there
guys
gets me.
happen to do you guys happen to know where I've tried to find out where Michter's sources from? I'm guessing I always guess they get their bourbon from Old Forester and their rye. Not really sure where they get their rye from though.
The bourbon is certainly from Brown Forman,
Brown Foreman,
which yeah, the rye, I have to imagine if it's Kentucky, it's Barton, but there's a lot more wiggle room in the rye. The bourbon is, and I believe that Minnick has all but confirmed it as well, but it's that's some Brown Forman stock, which is good. I mean, they've been very commonly contracting through Brown Forman for a long time because their bourbon's really pretty good.
Oh
Yeah, I like everything that they got going on. Some more than others, but none of it's what I would call bad.
Now, it's worth noting that contract means that they're probably not using the same yeasts that are going into the other Brown Forman products, which is why you don't get that banana overload.
Right. It doesn't have that signature
exactly.
note.
Yeah, there's just something about Michter's and the way it drinks and those flavors that just definitely remind me of Brown Forman.
Yeah, it's definitely low on the like I always picture Brown Forman stuff on like the banana scale. Like there's always some bananas, just where there's a little, but yeah, it's
I haven't had. I gotta say, I love the Michter's 10 years, but I think they're overpriced at 120 for what it is.
Yeah,
I've never had one that completely I was like, oh my god, like blew me away. Michter's barrel strength. There's that word again, barrel. Which is one of those unicorns that they release like throughout the year. That stuff's fantastic. Yeah, but they don't make enough of that. And actually, that's cheaper retail than the 10-year, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. That barrel proof rye is a solid always buy for me. And
the barrel proof rye, the barrel proof bourbon, and then you have the toasted rye is one of my favorites. And actually, a bottle I got to try this year for the first time was the 10-year rye, which I was actually rather impressed with. I really liked that one. I didn't think I was, because it's only like 90.4 proof or something.
It's a really soft rye, but it does have some character to it.
It has a lot of character. It's rich. It's got a really nice finish. It's short, but it brings a lot to the table quickly. So I do like that. I think so. This is interesting. So up front on this, I got the marshmallow, I got the rye, the spearmint, I got a lot of caramel. There's a lot of richness there. And then initially on the finish, I got that toasted barrel bitterness that a lot of people don't like, that tends to open up and get sweeter over time. And I was like, uh-oh, what's happening there? And then after about 5 seconds, I just got this burst of like vanilla ice cream on the back.
Oh, cool.
So I think it takes a little bit of time for those flavors to kind of hit you, but you have to go through the gamut here before you get there.
Yeah,
and I want to hope to think that like they're kind of dialing these in each year, which is like I wasn't a huge fan of the first Elijah Craig Toasted, but it was also like release number 1. Like hopefully they're going to tinker with this afterwards. Like after a couple of years of Michter's tinkering, I'd hope they're dialing it in. Yeah,
and I can confirm that Michter's the rye recipe. It's a barely rye, so there's not a lot of rye.
That's standard Kentucky rye.
This is 51, 52, maybe 53. I don't even know if it's that high. So yeah, that's I'm curious to see how this opens up a little bit. So I'm glad I got to open it. I always like to open up a bottle a little bit before I review it, just to give it a fair shake.
Totally.
Yeah, that's wise.
Sometimes there's some exceptions to that rule if you just want to get the first review out,
Well, and if you pour it and you like it right off, then that's one thing. You might not have 3 different, 4 different, 5 different tastings worth of notes to put out. But if you like it, then it's pretty easy to say, okay, this is what I like about it. And then you're sharing an honest opinion either way.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So
I'm curious to know your thoughts. I just popped this open. Have you had this year's George Dickel, the 11-year?
Yeah, I got to say, I was vastly surprised with that. Pleasantly surprised.
When we were talking like $36 for the Overholt, I was like, wait a second, I got to pour this. I think this was like $35 too. And I'm honestly pretty surprised because I didn't like the last one, but this is pulling its weight.
So I said this on the review. I'm not sure if it was a different profile that we're going for. You do get the George Dickel that little bit of minerality, but it's not nearly as prevalent as I've had it in other George Dickel products. This one is more.
Sure.
It's more on the sweeter side, and I think a lot of people that I've talked to have been really surprised by this bottle so far.
This one reminded me, and I don't know if old fashions are as big in Ohio as they are in Wisconsin, but like this almost reminded me of like without the sweetness, like an old fashioned ready to go. Like it had the orange, it had the bitters, it had some of that sweetness to it. And I was like, oh, because I bought it and I was like, oh man, I don't think I'm gonna like this, but like I have to try it. And I was pleasantly surprised after the last Dickel.
Yeah, I mean, from the nose, this surprised me. I'm like, wait a second, I'm not getting any of that, the Flintstone vitamin note that everyone says it's got.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not get that right away with this. This is my second bottle, by the way. I finished the first one because I enjoyed it so much.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
So I bought two because I wasn't sure if I'd see this in Ohio or when I would see this again.
Yeah, good choice.
The first bottle I went through pretty quickly, and that was the one I reviewed.
Okay.
And this one I cracked open actually last night. Another channel, Whiskey Crusaders, that I watch was doing a George Dickel night, and they were trying this for the first time, and they were very surprised as well at how un-Dickel this was.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually would love to I want to try to get Nicole Austin on the channel to talk to her and find out if that was the initial idea and the ideology behind this, and combining these barrels to create this little bit of a different flavor profile that might have been more universal to the masses rather than just going for that typical George Dickel note. So I'm just really curious. I have read things that was the idea, but I would like to hear it from the master distiller.
Yeah, it would be nice to get that like straight from the source.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Cool.
I had the last year's release of that Dickel, and I had a sample sent to me. Didn't really care for it. Like, I never bought a bottle of it. It wasn't for me. I haven't tried this one yet. So
the 13 year was a complete vitamin / oak bomb. Yes. So
yeah, it just came off. Like, I didn't get a ton of the vitamin. It was in there, but it wasn't like overpowering. It didn't seem balanced to me. It wasn't up my alley, but I'll have to check out this one. I haven't tried it yet. I was too scared off by last year.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit of actually got a little bit left of the Old Forester birthday bourbon.
There you go.
Very nice.
I got lucky enough to get sent this by Old Forester. I've developed a good relationship with them. And they're just great to work with. But
yep, certainly.
Yeah. But this birthday bourbon, I mean, I had some kind of mixed emotions about it. I think it's really great. I think it's really good. When I tried it for the first time, I was surprised how tropical it was, which was pretty cool.
I remember that from your stream. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very tropical. It was very, I don't know. It came off very different. And I think the lower proof, now we're at 10 years old, 98 proof. I think a lot of people will like it, but I think if people are expecting the usual brown form and flavor profile, that's not what this is. So
yeah, which is good. That's always kind of been a hallmark of the birthday bourbon, which is nice.
Yeah, they're all different. So it just really depends on what you want. It's just the people that chase it down. The first day that these released, I saw them on secondary for about 800, 900 at the highest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because Old Forester shat the bed the moment everyone logged on.
Yeah, I mean, all of it. I mean, even Party Source in Kentucky. I mean, they said that they were going to release Blanton's online and crash the system too. So
sure did.
I mean, the Party Source is no pinnacle of technology. Like, let's just get that one out of the way.
They are not barons of the web industry.
Their one IT guy is struggling hard.
I'd hate to be that bastard though.
I say, as a fan of the Party Source, like, more power to you guys, but like, hire a couple more people, like, for the love of God.
Or just upgrade your servers, dude. If you're going to do that, I don't think they should know the kind of response you get from something like that.
Unreal.
Yeah. That was one hell of a way to stress test your system.
Oh man. Man, that's good stuff. That's surprising.
Are you still on the? What do you get? Is that Jack Daniel's Rye, or what are you on now?
Are you still sipping the Murray Hill?
No,
Jay?
I just wrapped up some of the Dickel here. I'm gonna have some of the Jack Daniels right to probably close my night. But
Nice.
honestly, the Murray Hill has a lot of opening up to do, but this Dickel is just immediately approachable and like bring it on.
An approachable Dickel. You heard it here first, people. Weekly whiskey.
Damn, even after the Knob Creek segment, I should be better about watching out for those.
Yeah, you know that I wait for those too.
I just got run over in that segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got
you pretty good.
I mean, like I said, I got into this last night. Like I was supposed to get a bunch of other stuff done, and I ended up just sitting and drinking Jack Daniels rye all night, and it was worth it. But I was a little behind today, so
That'll happen. I'm really digging this. I'm really digging this Luxor 12 year, the double barrel. That's really cool. It kind of takes the Rebel 10 year to a different level.
Okay.
To me, that double barrel was just all chocolate and cherry. I loved it.
Yeah, plenty of fruit. Is actually a pretty good little oak structure in the background too.
Absolutely.
Kind of holds it up nicely.
Yep. It's not overly sweet, but it's not overly oaky. It's a really great balance of both.
I think very well balanced is how I describe it for sure. And it's got just a little bit of that like almost nutty background to it too that you can get out of those Rebel Yell 10s. It's really pretty awesome. Actually, now I want more of it.
So the last bottle I have here, guys, tonight is from 3 Chord.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So 3 Chord is a pretty new bourbon, pretty new whiskey brand. Founded by, I forgot his name, unfortunately. He was a former, if anyone in the chat remembers who started the brand, he's a former guitarist. Decided to start 3 Chord Bourbon. So they have a couple different expressions, but this is their special release they came out with. And they sent me a sample. It's called Whiskey Drummer.
That's right.
Totally fitting. For the
You got that drum fusion to it.
The drum fusion, which is totally fitting. I love it.
I dig the label too.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, Rare Bird 101. It's Pat Benatar's husband.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm looking up right now. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Pat Benatar's husband started the brand.
I dig that.
Yeah, so this is a 15-year-old barrel-proof whiskey, barrel-proof bourbon. Kentucky straight bourbon, so we're thinking it's sourced. We're already thinking it could be bought, with that type of age to it.
Yep.
Yeah. This is Kentucky. It's not Tennessee. It's not it's not Indiana. So
that's okay.
Yeah. So I haven't really gotten a chance to taste through this. They sent me a good amount of it, but I haven't
tasted through 3/4 of this bottle yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour the last quarter of it.
Yeah. Well, no, this was not full. About when they sent it to me, there was about a little bit more than this in here.
Okay. It's weird. Hoot and Young did the same thing for me. They sent like 80 mil of bourbon in a 200 mil flask. And it's like,
I get those from Luxor.
That wasn't suspicious at all in the mail, guys. That wasn't.
Yeah, it was totally glugging around like a goldfish bowl, but whatever.
Is that wise? Anyways.
All right, so Rare Bird is saying it's sourced. It's not Barton, from what I've heard. It's supposedly the same sources 4-Gate 3 and 5 were.
Interesting. That is a thick plot. I need a media contact there, and I need to email them tonight.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
So just to give you guys the proof point for this, 117.9.
At 15 years, okay.
Yep, at 15 years old.
That's a hot warehouse. Well, I guess that's actually
not at 15.
Less than I would have expected at 15.
Yeah. You're getting like
I think that sounds like a pretty temperate warehouse.
53, yeah, that's going the other way.
Yeah.
Coming from a day of Scotch stuff, I'm like, holy shit, 53, no, you're very, very much correct there.
I gotta say, it doesn't smell like Barton to me.
Does it smell a little bit more like cherry vanilla? Does it smell a little bit more like apple peel?
Does it smell like feathers? Let me go for a sip here. Yeah. I would actually lean more possibly turkey for that.
Okay, so this is the buffalo turkey stuff potentially.
Potentially.
A Buffalo Wild Wing, if you will.
Yeah.
Man, that is a great alliteration for it. The whole faux turkey, buffalo tofurkey kind of thing.
It's chocolate, it's nuttiness, it's cherry, a lot of cinnamon on the back end, no banana at all, which definitely doesn't make me think like it's Barton. And Barton also very finishes, no matter what age I usually get. Barton has a distinct finish to me that I'm not getting on this. So I wouldn't think it's Barton.
So buffalo tofurkey it is.
Yeah.
It could be Buffalo Tofurkey.
Yep.
We gotta buy a barrel of that just so we can name it that for
I think we should. I've got plenty of great designs in my mind already.
buffalo tofurkey. Yeah, that could go so many ways.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the more I'm smelling it, the more it's opening up here. It's a little bit. I would probably go for. So explain So how did that work with the whole tofurkey thing?
So Campari at one point wasn't entirely certain of the future viability of wild turkey, so they contracted a Buffalo Trace using the wild turkey mash bills and stuff, and then they had some barrels held there.
Okay.
When they were no longer needed, they were sold off contract under tight NDAs that were immediately disregarded and everyone found out about, as is the way the NDAs in the industry usually go.
Mm-hmm.
From sourcing from someone who was contracting for someone else, but hence the Buffalo Tofurkey. It was an attempt to replicate turkey at Buffalo Trace, and then Campari said, "Wait, all turkey's doing fine. You guys can have those barrels back." And now places.
Were they using? I mean, were these in Buffalo Trace barrels?
That's the part I'm not 100%. And someone, if they're bold enough, can talk to it. I'm certain that they likely were. I don't see them importing someone else's barrels,
because there is a definite sweetness on this that you would think that has that. I know we say it. Buffalo Trace has a way of pulling out amazing sweetness out of their barrels and their yeast strain and whatever they do, and that's why I think people love it so much.
Yeah.
So having that mixed with possible a turkey mash bill is interesting.
Yeah, David thinks that it's turkey cooperage, so that would support them distilling and then exporting to save it turkey. So
yeah, I mean, I could definitely, just based on the nose. I mean, where's my rare breed here?
Like, you'd believe it, but you wouldn't necessarily say it off the top of your head. That's
kind
of where I landed.
If you were just giving this to me blind, I wouldn't say wild turkey right away. I would have to think on it. But I'm comparing it to rare breed here, and the rare breed is so much more vanilla frosting than this is. And that's probably has to do with the age. This is obviously a little bit more oaky, a little bit more chocolate, more cherry. Right. There's definitely some oak spice on there. But
yeah, and David makes a great point about the NDAs too. Like, I mean, everyone has their own take on this, and
you never know.
Everyone's heard it from someone they trust, and people are bound to be wrong. So.
Jeffrey Noller, does it smell like Blanton's eyes? Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, for a 15-year-old, 117.9. This is solid. It's a really good bourbon, really good flavors. It's very balanced.
Okay. Any idea the price point on that one?
It's probably going to be friggin' pricey.
$100, $200.
I'm thinking it's going to be up in that 150 to 200 mark.
Okay.
I think so. Even at 150, I think I might be a customer on something like that for a 15-year product that's not an American whiskey or not something that's like totally wild. It's not like some crazy thing they finished in a cask I've never heard of. I think I'd probably be a buyer on that.
$190.
Yeah, I think
it's like $14 a year.
I
12
still
bucks a year.
consider it.
So it's going to be batches of 10 barrels each, and released across 15 states.
All right,
This
so
is
like
gonna be
1,400 bottles, 10 states,
Yep.
$100.
Yep.
Is there literature on there telling you what batch you've got?
Batch one.
Batch one, okay.
Okay.
Batch one.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. I've seen 3 Chord has been blowing up. They've been using their AdWords dollars for sure. So
Yep.
Yeah, they reached out to me. I'm planning on having them on the channel because I would love to talk to them and
certainly
see what they have as far as what's coming up next and how they exactly crafted this, if they can say a little bit more.
Yeah.
So be pretty cool.
It'd be a good sit down to have.
Oh, and also I just got a press release from Foregate. Speaking of Foregate,
Interesting timing.
in the oven.
their next release, release number 9, it's called Andalusia Key, Kentucky straight bourbon, finished in Oloroso sherry and dark rum casks.
Okay.
Oh, dark rum. I love
Dark
using
rum.
a non.
So batch 1 was rum. This is dark rum.
Yeah, a non-defined industry term. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Right.
Unchill filtered, 120.2 proof, cast strength, 1,309 bottles produced. So pretty small batch.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
When you think about it. So yeah, very cool.
Even lower than I was expecting like 1,400 or so. So
yeah, dark rum. That's like get the Captain Morgan out.
Yeah.
no.
I immediately thought of Basil Hayden, and it scared me a little bit.
Oh my god, we didn't start on the Basil Hayden. That was another announcement actually this week. Basil Hayden 10-year at 80 proof.
10-year.
It's coming back.
Yep.
Second release.
What is dark rum supposed to imply?
Well,
Sorry,
if you think about a rum that's like not very dark, and then you were to
you did this
then darken
No, bad.
it. Okay.
Bad. My eye's gonna twitch.
Oh yeah, it's gonna twitch. It's only gonna get worse because I'm like already coming up with a whole bunch of shit to send you now.
At least they didn't say like golden rum, because I would have said like flip this table over and get the fuck out of here.
Rare Bird 101 says Sith rum.
Yeah, I don't know that there'd be a good Star Wars rum overlap. I'm sure they'll try. I'm sure we'll get one. Disney will be like, ha ha ha, let's get into the rum.
Yeah, here we go. It's rum time.
So let me ask you guys, what's we're in September, getting obviously BTAC hasn't really released yet. It's been announced. Birthday Bourbon has come out. There's still a few more releases to come out by the end of the year. What's so far up until now? What have been your most impressive, bourbons that you've tried? And I'm talking new, because obviously, when you're talking about Knob Creek or Russell's Reserve single barrels or any other single barrel that you've gotten that's been amazing, that's great. But I'm talking things that were released new this year. What impressed you guys?
I'll give you my craft and I'll give you my macro. I tried just recently Taconic. I don't know if you've heard of Taconic Distillery.
Yeah, I actually got I just got a bottle here. Oh.
I tried some straight from the barrel stuff, and I was honestly shocked for 3 years, under 3 years, 3 years and change. It was up there, probably even maybe a little bit past Chattanooga with their profile was so dense with flavor. And as for the macro, the 9-year Heaven Hill Old Fitzgerald decanter from the spring this year was fucking lit. That thing was all cylinders.
Wow, really? The Old Fitz 9?
Yeah, and honestly, I really did not like the first couple of releases, but it's clear that just like Knob Creek and some of the Jack Daniels, like they've dialed this one in, and they're they're hitting that stride really well, which I did not expect, but that was encouraging to see. What about you, John?
Yeah, I think to go take a similar thread and do a little bit of craft and a little bit of the macro stuff. On the craft side, something that really kind of, two things jumped out to me since New Year's was the Mackenzie Rye coming out of Finger Lakes.
Wow.
That stuff has the potential to be outstanding. I think some of it is single barrel effect, and some of it is just, hey, this is good stuff. And when it's aged right, it's great. So I think that's a product that here in another 2 years could probably be a real big hitter. Bourbon Pursuit did a single barrel with them.
Yeah.
It was their episode 18 rye. It was, or well, Pursuit series, I should say, but that was very good. I wound up scooping up more bottles of that because it was so impressive.
Yeah.
And Blake from Bourbon or Sealbox just released a single barrel of the same mash bill. It's the same Mackenzie rye. It's obviously going to be a different barrel, but that one is, geez, and it's only like $65, I think, too. Like that one for me is a buy. Anytime I see that Mackenzie rye come up out of Finger Lakes, I'm grabbing that.
Yeah.
The Still Austin bourbon actually left a pretty good impression on me. I thought that was good for its age. They're doing some good stuff down there. I don't know if that is going to be an incredible product at 6 years or if it's going to peak at around 4, but it's like not even 3 years yet. And I was pretty impressed with that for what they're doing. And then on the bigger side of the house, I still think the Rare Breed Rye is just for me,
that's good.
one of the best things that's going on.
Speaking of the Finger Lakes, some of the Bull Run stuff this year was fucking phenomenal. That's kind of in the middle because it's MGP,
right?
That's then finished. But those Oregon Pinot Cats, I've had a couple now, and all of those have been just top notch.
Yeah, the picks, and they've got a lot of aged stock in there too. That's just fucking absolutely
really well aged.
Yeah, they've done a great job with their stuff, and it's priced very, very nice.
Yeah, those were what, 59, 55, 50? No,
they were.
59.
Shit, I don't remember. It was under 75. Put it that way, because that's got like my arbitrary limit where I'm like, oh, something's expensive if it's more than $75, and it like doesn't make any sense because 75 is such a like totally arbitrary number for me. But
it was
like my weird cutoff.
Yeah, it was in my impulse buy category, and I impulse bought many of them.
Yeah, I recall that. I remember seeing them shipped to my house.
Sitting in your house.
As Jay's moving, everything he buys, he just has shipped to me. So I'm like amassing this bunker. Like I've got my gear and then all of his, and I'm like looking at it like I'm gonna have to get like some of those heavy duty like Home Depot boxes that ship all this bullshit back to him someday.
I forgot. Yeah, that's actually probably the more important delineation to make. Not only did I buy it, but I bought it when I'm not supposed to be buying things because I'm moving stuff. So I was like, we'll still just buy it. We'll ship it to Maine and then we'll ship it to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's no big deal. Just send it.
What could go wrong?
I can't think of a thing, man. So look, we're coming around here to the top of the hour. I think it's probably a good time.
Why don't we wrap up?
Start wrapping this thing up here and just let everybody know kind of what he's got going. I mean, like, I gotta feel like if you're here watching this now, there's no fucking way you don't know about everything he's got going on. But I still think it'd be a good time for anybody who tunes in later on to check this out, and they might want to hit up his YouTube channel and subscribe over there, or catch him on Instagram.
Totally.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, John and Jay. We talked about this for a little bit, so definitely awesome to collaborate with you guys and be on the show and just talk. You know, you guys are bourbon and whiskey nerds like I am, so it's always fun to talk to you, guys like that. So, but yeah, definitely check out the Mash and Drum on YouTube if you haven't yet. Definitely give me a subscribe, and I got a lot of cool stuff coming up as far as interviews and a couple of exclusive bottles I'm going to be able to get my hands on towards the end of the year. That will be coming up. Can't really say what those are, but yeah, it should be pretty cool. So I'll be reviewing those. Definitely tune into my live streams every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also check out my Instagram, the Mash and Drum, with underscores in between all those words. I post a lot of stuff on there. I'm trying to do some more videos and some exclusive blind tastings and stuff through Instagram. So definitely tune in for that, and that's it. So thanks for having me on, guys. Should be a fun rest of the year.
Absolutely,
hell yeah,
brother.
Man, it was awesome to have you. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, we've been talking about this for a while, and it was great to make it happen, especially with the fall season coming up. It was great. I mean, I've been watching your stuff for a while. It was great to see you here in the flesh, and we'll make sure to have you on again. But yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm Jay of Take That Review. If you guys have been here before, you've seen me. Follow along. Tomorrow, the bourbon posts go up for Smooth Ambler, for Elijah Craig, and for Knob Creek. So it's going to be just loaded with Swiss cheese kind of day. You can find me on Instagram and my site. And John, why don't you take us home?
Absolutely, guys. Thanks again, Jason, Jay. It's great to sit down, drink some whiskey with you guys, chat it up. And, I had a hell of a time. You can find me on TheBourbonFinder.com or Instagram at TheBourbonFinder. And, everybody who came in, hung out, speak up and chat, tell us what you're drinking. We appreciate you. And this is what we do. I mean, have a good time, share some whiskey, have a good laugh. Other than that, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, man.